Does your vision for business match what you see happening on a daily basis? Welcome to Jim White's Circle of Success show, where Jim White brings it all together. For over 30 years, Jim White has worked with organizations and individuals worldwide to help develop and implement excellence. You'll get the inside story on how to create innovative leaders from one corner of your company to the other. Get everyone on your team contributing to the bottom line. Keep building revenue, even when the economy and your customers have flatlined, and more. Jim White's Circle of Success show covers it all, from communication to contract negotiation, from personal fulfillment to revving up cash flow. It's not about theories, it's about showing what works and how to make it work for you. And now, here's your host, Jim White.
Thank you, David, and ladies and gentlemen, we have a fantastic show for you today. We're going to talk about, in the first segment, we're going to talk about some local elections on the Monterey Peninsula and elsewhere in Central California. We're going to talk about next segment, we're going to talk about the economic recovery, and we're going to talk about the passing of H.R. 3606. As you may remember, we've done several shows on the Crowdfunding Act, or the JOB Act. We started doing a series actually in January of this year, and I'm happy to say that it did pass. The Senate passed it, and then it went back to the House to address the amendment, and the House passed it, and it's on the President's desk, and we anticipate that the President will sign H.R. 3606 this week, which is a huge win. This will allow startups and entrepreneurs to be able to reach out via the internet to raise capital equity for their companies. So we're very excited about that. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that. And we're also going to talk about YET, what I call YET, for my regular listeners on the Circle of Success radio show. You know, we've done a series of shows for the past couple of years on the highway bill funding and the short term and why the negative effect that has on industry. Well, guess what? We passed another short-term 90-day highway bill on Thursday of this past week. Why? Because the current bill, should the Congress and the Senate not address that, would expired on the 31st of March. So, well, what do? We come up with another 90-day extension. So we're going to talk about that more. And we're also going to talk about some global issues. So we got a jam-packed show for you today, and we'll be right back after this message. You're watching KYMB, Comcast Channel 19.
This segment is brought to you by 12 O'Clock High Leadership and Management Summit. 12 O'Clock High is one of the undisputed best movie classics of all time. It is also one of the best business learning tools available. The movie rated #1 by top executives for its influence on their management styles. Now, the inspiration of the 12 O'Clock High Leadership and Management Summit, an innovative one-day event and 30-day follow-up where you will quickly see what's working and not working on the front lines of your company and in your own leadership style. Learn more at 12high.com. That's 12high.com.
Thank you, David. We're back. We have some elections that actually one I'm going to talk about is in Carmel by the Sea, which is April the 10th. And what I want to do is to, as we go through the show, I want to bring up some qualities of leaders. And we're actually going to be weaving that in all of our topics today. So as you go to the polls or prepare to go to the polls in April to elect a new mayor, I want you to keep some of these attributes in mind. Now, for the viewers at home, you can go to our website right now, and on the home page, you'll be able to download these attributes, these 5 attributes, which we're going to drill down, and we're also going to throw them up on the screen here momentarily. Then for our international viewers that's viewing the show via jlwcos.tv, you can do the same thing right under your viewer. You can download and follow along there. I think it's important as we prepare for not only our local elections, we also prepare for our national elections, and then as we prepare for international elections. So we have some other major elections. France, for example, are going to elect a new president this year. So we got a lot going on, like I said, locally, nationally, and internationally that affects the American people. Well, in order to be able to make wise decisions, we've got to educate ourselves, and we've got to really step back and say, is this the leader that I want to represent me in the case of mayors, local, for the next 2 years, 4 years, and in the case of the next president of the United States for the next 4 years. So we're going to drill down on these issues, and part of that drilling down, as I was preparing for the show today, I picked up a lot of different papers, and I'm showing the Financial Times here. And as you look at the Financial Times, you say Brussels revs up funds and fears over rules. Well, all of these things that we're talking about here requires leadership, right? So each and everything that we throw up, as I look at the USA Today, as I look at the headlines there, well, it says how to defeat Kentucky, right? So that requires leadership as well. So how do we go about doing that? And then here's another breaking story out of Burma. We've had a person that has been incarcerated for over 20 years that's now had an opportunity to win a parliament seat. So that requires leadership within itself. So I think you get the theme of where we're going with this today. Then the next thing that I picked up here was the Wall Street Journal as I was coming to the studio. And there's so much going on, and there's so much information, and it's very complex information. But once again, for our viewers locally on the Monterey Peninsula and around the world, what I encourage us to do is to really educate ourselves so we can make informed decisions, so we can go to the polls, and that's another thing. Vote, right? That's about the only thing that you can do in order to be able to affect change, is to vote. Go to the polls and cast your vote. Well, you said, well, yeah, we see everybody talking about that. Yeah, I know you do, but I really want to encourage you to get involved in this election. Now, shortly in the United States, we're going to have a front runner to emerge, and from the Republican side. And who that's going to be, I haven't a clue, but I think the indications may be, and it could be Romney, Mitt Romney. I don't know yet. However, once we have a clear runner, and then when the campaign really kicks in, when President Obama starts his campaign, there's a few landmines that the president is going to have to be careful to navigate in order to be reelected. Now, as you well know, our show is right down the middle. We're not partisan, we're not Republican, we're not Democrats, we're not independent, we are Americans, okay? So it's important to keep this in mind as we talk about the attributes that we should be looking at in our leaders, okay? Now, I also want to caution us, is do not get wrapped up into all of the sound bites. It's easy to do because we have what? Media 24/7. So it's do not get caught up, and it's do not get caught up in without doing some real fact checking, if you will, so you can make some intelligent decisions. Now, what we want to do now, if I'm going to ask Dave to pull up this slide, and I want you to follow along with me. And here we go. It's up on the screen now. And we did a show similar to this, or brought up these attributes here back in the fourth quarter of last year. But I thought it was important as we started to take the journey and kind of weaving what this really means and what you should be looking for in your leaders. Now, the first thing that you will see on the screen there is called the interpersonal skills, right? Now, these skills, and it's important to hang on to words here, these skills reflect your ability to interact with other people in a positive manner, right? Well, I want you to think about this. It's kind of do a rewind a little bit to 9/11. Yeah, 9/11. Well, prior to that time, we had spent years doing diplomacy, what we call the Cold War, right? Well, what I am seeing, and this is just Jim White's views, you do your own fact checking here and you draw your own conclusions. I'm just going to throw out a whole bunch of questions for you today to consider and throw out some real keys that I know that are essential in a leader where you're running a country or you're running an enterprise, okay? So as we look at the ability to communicate and as we look at the ability to interact with others, that's called diplomacy, right? Well, also it is called negotiation. It's also called compromise. Well, I mentioned at the opening of the show that we are now into another 90-day extension of the highway bill. Well, you've heard me say over and over and over, the industry cannot make long-term decisions and strategy or develop strategy based on these short-term knee-jerk reaction from Congress and the Senate. Why? Because we cannot compromise. Well, I know I'm going to get a lot of feedback on the show today, and that's okay. And you can give us feedback through the website. And like I said, I just want to ignite some thought processes to ignite, say, man, have we had enough of just the same old stuff? So the same old stuff is not compromising, not making decisions, not moving us ahead in a positive way for the continuous economic recovery that we require. So as you look at this particular skill set, again, and I'm going to quote, and you follow along here, I say a leader who is empathetic. One thing that we've got to have, and I think this is missing not only at our local level, in our politics, and also in our national level, is the empathy and compassion and the ability to be able to connect with people, all people. And that's the key. All people is the thing that we need to be talking about. Now, for this to happen, we got to develop trust, right? You remember several weeks ago, I had Stephen M. R. Covey on the show in his new book, Smart Trust. Well, I couldn't agree with that concept more that Stephen has written about. And this is what we're doing here. We need to establish trust. And as our local politicians are out campaigning, for the different council races here on the Monterey Peninsula, keep us in mind that you got to connect with the trust. And I would encourage the voters, as you're listening, as you're preparing to go make these decisions, is start asking some questions. How are you really going to solve some of these problems? Because what happens all too often is that we have people running for office. They're using a whole bunch of rhetoric, but nobody has any substance whatsoever or content that they're going to say, this is what I'm going to do. So it's asked our politicians to say, all right, give us your plan. Show us how you're going to do it. Show us how you're going to lead us, okay? So we're going to continue to drill down on. We got 5 more of these skills that we're going to take a look at. And as you can tell now, we're going to weave it all together from a local standpoint and also from a national perspective and also from an international perspective. So we'll be right back after this message. You're watching KYMB Comcast Channel 19.
Are you looking for a clarity of purpose? Are you a recent college graduate, unemployed, an entrepreneur, or considering a career change? A business owner or employee struggling with performance issues? Classes are forming now for the worldwide phenomenon, What's My Purpose Life Mastery Course 2.0. What's My Purpose Life Mastery Course 2.0 can help you define your goals and vision. Start living your life on purpose. Living on purpose is about joy. Living on purpose is about intention. Living on purpose is about personal transformation and continued growth. What's My Purpose Life Mastery Course 2.0 is a 12-week challenging course that helps you address finances, relationships, spiritual growth, physical and mental health. You will reclaim your personal power and get your life on track to attain true success. Classes are forming now for What's My Purpose Life Mastery Course 2.0. Learn more and register at whatsmypurpose.com. That's whatsmypurpose.com.
Thank you, Dave. We're back. Now, let's take a look at the number 2 key quality of a leader. And I call that self-management. I was watching the Jim Vossen, another host here on his morning show. I tuned in briefly this morning. And Jim, I think, had Dan Miller was his name. He's a council person from Pacific Grove that's running for mayor. And they were talking about the redevelopment agencies, and then also Jim Vossen had made reference to David Pendergrass, which is the mayor of Sand City. Well, if you're familiar with the Monterey Peninsula, Sand City is this, it's just a small area. But one of the things that Sand City got right many years ago, they welcomed the big box stores. So they have probably one of the few cities in California that has a surplus. And I think I'm totally accurate on that, not correct me. But the point I want to make is this. There's grants. And I just caught my ear when I heard Jim Vossen and Dan Miller discussing this, that Sand City was going out for grants. Well, in this time of real economic challenge, when we have some cities, and boy, every city that I know in the state of California has some real struggles. And we're talking about required leadership, right? This could not be more and timely for us as the citizens of Monterey County and Fresno and Santa Cruz and all the central coast of California to say, man, we got to really bring some leadership and work together. Well, the point I'm making here is Sand City is going out for a grant, which is in fact going to be competing with some of the other cities that actually need this money. And where Sand City, boy, I know I'm going to get some emails from Dave Pendergrass, I know that, where Sand City is saying, or I should say, should have a discussion with the other mayors and say, man, I don't really, maybe I shouldn't do this, so we can kind of communicate and incorporate a little bit more, right? Now, and like I said, I know this is going to open up a floodgate of emails from all the different mayors and city councils on the Monterey Peninsula, but that's okay. It's suggesting that we have some dialogue to be able to work in the best interest for all the citizens of Monterey County, not just for the citizens of one particular city, but for all citizens of Monterey County. So in this self-management skills area of leadership, the task is to deliver the desired results. And like I said, each city council and each mayor, each administrator has a responsibility to deliver those results for the citizens of their respective city. Yes, I get that. However, with a better cooperation for everybody coming together and having a discussion about how we can support each other, I think would be a great debate to have. And we're also have elections for supervisors as well in Monterey County. So I'm just suggesting that we open up a dialogue a little bit more and say, how can we work together as a team? Now, it is important from a leadership standpoint and from this self-management standpoint is to make sure that we can control the emotions. Well, I have sat in some of these meetings in past, city council, etc., where the emotion kind of gets out front of the issue. and it's important that we as leaders, and if you say that you want to become the elected official to represent the citizens of your district, I will say, then it's incumbent on you to make sure that you are brushing up on your leadership skills, if you will, and this is one of them. And you cannot effectively lead if you allow the emotions to get out ahead of the issue, and this happens all too often, and especially in our small community, okay? So let's take a look at the next skill that we should focus on, not only locally, but we're talking about nationally as well, right? Now, that's called the personal accountability. If you take a look at this, follow along with me, personal accountability. Now, this measure is of your capacity to be answerable to personal actions and personal accountability. So take a moment, take a deep breath, and say, are all of my leaders, not only from a public but from a private sector standpoint, are we seeing that? Is that occurring? And if it's not, why not? And if it's not, why are we going to continue to support them to be our leaders? Because they do work for you, the citizens, right? And it's the same as we continue to see the general election to take on its life. And the life that the general election is going to take, leading up to November of 2012, is going to be unemployment. There hasn't been a sitting president that's been reelected if you have employment above 9%, right? Well, that's a landmine that President Obama has. The next landmine that President Obama, we're talking about from the sitting president, some of the landmines that he has to deal with in order to get the American people to say yes to another 4 years to the president. And at the same time, ask yourself and use this checklist, does he have the leadership skills that we're looking for in order to make the decisions on our behalf? Well, another landmine that the president has is from a global perspective. We got a lot of there's a lot of discussion. There's a lot of dialogue, a lot of news coverage over Iran right now, right? And I'm not about to get into all of the. The show is not long enough to get into all of the what's right, what's wrong here. But the only thing that I wanted to bring out, if Iran gets out of control, if we allow ourselves to get sucked into any type of military action, then that's going to be a real landmine for the president to cover as well. Now, another landmine that the president has to navigate is the continuation of Afghanistan. Afghanistan within itself is a huge landmine. In the decisions, what we're going to do there and how we're going to bring her, get out of that particular situation. And also another situation that we have, talking about Afghanistan, and is the multiple deployments. And I'm just bringing up a whole host of issues that you probably read about and you hear, but I'm asking you to sit back today as you're viewing the show and saying, wow, what can I do about that? How can I influence? And this tragedy that occurred with the 16 or 17 people that was killed recently by the U.S. soldier, it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Just a devastating event for everyone, not only for the soldier that alleged soldier that did the alleged act, as they say in the legal terms, but also for the American diplomacy, right? So that is a huge issue, that another landmine. And another landmine that the president will have to deal with as he moves down into November is the deficit, okay? A huge deficit. If that continues to run away, he is going to have another huge challenge. Now, as I'm talking about President Obama, the sitting president, now we talk about whoever the Republican nominee is going to be, and the Republican nominees got to come to the American people and address these same landmines. He's got to convince us, the Americans, that he has the ability to create jobs. And this is where I really want us to really drill down and educate ourselves. And instead of saying what's the word I'm looking for? The word is the rhetoric of creating jobs, but the how. I want us to really ask the how question. How are we going to do it? Well, the how is, how are we going to create jobs? Well, the how is through innovation. And my mind is going to a place that I know is going to get me dig a hole a little deeper here. But the first thing that jumped out at me was I was thinking about creation of jobs. It came to Apple. And I am such a supporter of Apple. I am such a supporter of the Apple products. I'm supporter of the innovation of Apple. And you look at the market value of Apple, I think it's currently number one today, right, in market cap. Well, where my mind went in this creation of jobs is this. Apple, depends on the reports you look at, Apple has some 300,000 to 700,000 employees outside the United States. Well, what if we had taken a leadership position, we, the American people in the supply chain, working with local and national leaders, say, what could we do to get these jobs back in the United States, right? Question. Is that possible? Is it possible for us to compete with that labor? I think it is. And I think it's something that we need to take a leadership role in and hold ourselves personally accountable, not only from the private sector leaders, but from the public sector leaders, and to be able to say, can we do that? That's a question. Can we do that? Can we bring some of these jobs that are offshore back? But keeping in mind that we do have a global economy. So how do we balance that deficit and that trade deficit? And that's another landmine that President Obama has. If that trade deficit continues to get upside down, that's going to be a negative when it comes in November as well. Well, the Republican nominee, he needs to be addressing that as well, right? So once again, landmines. Unemployment, if the deficit continues to grow, if we continue to have gridlock, if we can continue to allow the deficit and the trade to get out of alignment. So all of these things are real issues. Now, is transition back here at home on the Monterey Peninsula. Every city on the peninsula has financial challenges, right? How do we creatively, innovation, be able to balance these budgets? I think that's where we got to take a more serious look at the private sector as well, what we can do to bring the private sector to the table in order to create more revenue, if you will. So all of these are very complex situations, and I am not making and suggesting that they're anything, but I am suggesting we, as the American people, we are the most innovative on earth. We're the most creative on earth. And when our backs are against the wall, we respond to the challenge. That is who we are as Americans. And part of that is all about the leadership. And that's what we're talking about today is leadership, right? So we got to get another break in. And right after that, we'll continue to talk about these other qualities of leadership. You're watching KYMB, Comcast Channel 19. We'll be right back after this.
This segment is brought to you by 12 O'Clock High Leadership and Management Summit. 12 O'Clock High is one of the undisputed best movie classics of all time. It is also one of the best business learning tools available. The movie rated #1 by top executives for its influence on their management styles. Now, the inspiration of the 12 O'Clock High Leadership and Management Summit. An innovative one-day event and 30-day follow-up where you will quickly see what's working and not working on the front lines of your company and in your own leadership style. Learn more at 12high.com. That's 12high.com.
Thank you, Dave. We're back. Okay. Like I said, what I wanted to do today is to just pose a whole bunch of questions, right? And for you viewing at home, and as you are reviewing the candidates for our local mayor and city council and our supervisors in Monterey County and others, and use this checklist that you can download from the website. It's there right now, jlwcos.tv. You can download this. And as I look at quality number 4 that Dave has on the screen for us, and I call this influencing others. Now, that's a big deal. And I say, as you follow along, read with me, the most critical key to leadership success is your ability to personally affect others' actions, decisions, follow along, opinions, or thinking. Let's say that again. I mean, that's a mouthful. Is to your ability to personally affect others' actions, decisions, opinions, or thinking. Now, today's leaders are in a position of influence. I want you to get that. It's a position of influence rather than a position of power. Now, for you leaders that think that you're sitting in this org chart, in an organizational chart, and by anointment that you are the CEO or you are the elected official sitting in that box and you're leading from that power, that's going to be short-lived. You're going to crash and burn if that's your leadership style. Your leadership style must be able to influence. Influence. That's the key. And we must influence. And how do we influence? We've got to communicate, and we're going to drill down on that in one of the other items here, item number 4. Now, follow along. To achieve results. Now, the results we need to talk about are many. And California cities, deficits, upside down, national economy, far as the budget deficit is concerned, far as the unemployment is concerned, all of these things are results that we need to really come to grips with. Now, your ability to influence others to bring out the best. How do we bring out the best in self? How do we bring out the best in others? How do we bring out the best in our elected officials and our private sector leaders? How do we do that? By holding them accountable. By being educated on the facts. And educate yourself. And not sitting on the sideline. Oftentimes hear people in meetings that don't say a word. And a lot of the ground rules that I have in my workshops that I teach, one of the ground rules that means silence means you agree. And what I mean by that, if you sit in a meeting and you don't say a word, or if you allow an election to come and go and you do not say anything about it, and then you do not have the right to complain about anything that's going on. This is some of the momentum that we've got to develop, and we got to get back on our side, is to make sure that we are taking control and using some of these checklists that we're offering today on the show for you to say, oh, this leader has these qualities, or they need to add this, or they need to tweak here, okay? So I want you to continue to think about that. Look at this slide as we got to get another break in here. And once we come back for this break, we're gonna drill down on another element of the key quality of leader. You're watching KYMB Comcast Channel 19.
Business is constantly changing. The challenges of the 21st century have never been greater. There is competition in every field, and technology is more fluid than ever. Bold, innovative thinking is needed. Organizations and individuals are looking for leadership, opportunity, and a way to grow. That way is finally here.
love teaching. I love sharing. I love sharing from the heart, connecting what I call the heart to the head.
Hundreds of companies and thousands of people have been inspired by one man.
Even from nothing you can accomplish if you have the will, if you have the perseverance, if you will work hard on setting goals and achieving those goals and holding yourself accountable to each and every one of those goals.
Jim White has dedicated his life to inspiring excellence in people.
A+. The man was knowledgeable. He had lived everything he talked about. He was extremely sincere. He was succinct, and he was inspirational.
He's given me some thought and some ideas on how to reset my goals and how to restructure my life.
A hugely successful businessman himself, Jim decided years ago to share his knowledge. Over the past 30 years, Jim White has mentored everyone from Fortune 500 CEOs to small business owners. He has helped numerous companies and individuals achieve their financial and personal goals. His circle of success is a blueprint for excellence and achievement.
I got the strong feeling that Mr. White was speaking from a huge amount of experience built up over the decades, which I think adds a lot of dimension to this kind of a seminar.
Wants to make you get up and do something tomorrow about changing your life.
J.L. White International is a management consulting and leadership development organization. Through workshops and one-to-one training, Jim and his staff have inspired audiences all over the country and have been able to achieve remarkable results by focusing on human capital and designing customized solutions to increase revenue and productivity. J.L. White International is guaranteed to inspire excellence. Isn't it time you discovered what true excellence in business is really like?
Thank you, Dave. We're back. Let's take a look at quality number 5. And this is the big one. Goal achievement. Goal achievement. Now, an effective leader is one with the overall ability, and you see it on the screen, and like I said, you download it from the website, to pursue and to attain achievable goals regardless. Now, that's what I want to underscore for you. Regardless of barriers or circumstances. I've seen this for over 40 years. And I say over and over and over with all of my clients and all the speaking I do, it is your ability to lead in tough times as well as good times. Anybody can do it in good times. So from a leadership standpoint, you've got to have that ability and to be able to achieve goals. Well, and this applies to your personal goals as well. And as you're thinking about, you may be beginning your career, you may be at the end of your career, you may be one of the baby boomers that are on the other side and doing other things in your career. But the whole thing that you're doing is the quality of life that you choose. And this is what the American life is all about, is that quality of life that you choose. Well, I'm of the belief if we have 7 billion people on the planet, that everybody has a right to a quality of life, right? Well, and that's complex. Recently, I had an opportunity to meet just a phenomenal person, Rebecca Costa is her name. I'm going to hold up her book here. Rebecca is the author of The Watchman's Rattle. And Rebecca is just a phenomenal thought leader, and it says, thinking our way out of extinction. And it's on complexity. And I was listening to her show on Friday. She has a show on local radio station for 2 hours every Friday. And I was listening to her show where she was talking to a caller, and this caller was talking about politicians and leadership. And I like what this caller said. It says, unfortunately, we get politicians confused with leaders. I couldn't agree with that more. What we should have, we have a lot of politicians, but not leaders. So, and I think this is just spot on. What we're talking about today is, do we have the real leaders that are stepping up and upping their game, if you will, versus just being mediocre. And holding ourselves accountable to goals is a tough deal for most people. Why? Because if you're not held accountable, and if you don't do the hard work, it's kind of hard to be convicted of a crime if you have no evidence. And what I mean by that, if you do not commit to something, then you don't have to say, I did achieve it or I did not achieve it. That's the reason I am a proponent of real accountability of goal achievement. So achieving goals under all or any circumstances. So as you were looking at your leaders, say for the supervisor positions in Monterey County, or your city council or your mayor positions, what is their track record? Are they good at that? Or are they just emotional and sidestep the issues? It's take a look at it and say, hey, it's make sure that you are doing this. Now, individuals and teams must be complementary at the highest level. And I use teams, and I'm talking about a family unit. I'm talking about employees. I'm talking about citizens for as goal achievement, right? Now, let's drill down on this, one of my favorite words, and if you look at this next slide, as you follow along, and I say, everyone has these skills to some degree or the other, right? Everybody does. Now, the challenge and the opportunity at the same time is to master these skills. Master them. And that's what we got to master them. Embrace them. And embrace the fact that, say, I'm a little weak here, so I need to tweak a little bit more, okay? So I'm going to speed this up a little bit, and I'm going to go to this slide here. And I want you to think about everything that's going on in your business, everything that's going on in your life, and everything that's going on in your city today. Why are these skills so important? The leadership effectiveness is measured through the results achieved by your team, right? By your team. To inspire and motivate. Remember, it's not about leading from a position of power. It's about leading from inspiration. Inspire and motivate. The mission of the show is to inspire and educate and motivate. How do we do that? By bringing you compelling content, by bringing you compelling guests to the show. And we're going to continue to do that. Now, the next thing that we want to look at here, continue, why are these skills so important? Now, this is big. Effective leadership at any level demands that you be able to gain the trust of others, both one-on-one and in groups. So what's your ability to do that? As you look at the candidates, and as you even look at your leaders, are they doing that? Are they trustworthy? Are you looking them in the eye and being able to say, yes, I trust this person, right? And as you go out to your city council meetings, and I'd encourage you to show up. You know, I go to some of the city council meetings, and there's probably six or seven people, and they're the same 6 or 7 people over and over and over. Get in the game. Be heard. They have public comment sections or times. Be heard. But do it in a respectful way. But hold your elected officials accountable. Now this is big. Both one-on-one and in groups, follow along with me. They depend on you, the leader, to, I'm doing this deliberate, to have a vision to see the possibilities and work with them to create and achieve the mutual goals. So as you look at your city, and as the politicians and the people running for office are saying, hey, we have a deficit, and the question, okay, we get it. What is our game plan? And it's trying to get past having a meeting on having a meeting to have a meeting. It's get into the nuts and the bolts. It's get into the how. It's get into how every citizen can get involved in the process to getting us through these hurdles that we're facing. In California, California, we got some real challenges here, folks. Now, I'm going to talk about the poor side of leadership and the difficulties that it can create. And I think we are experiencing some of those difficulties now. Some of the decisions that were made post 9/11, some of the decisions that was made in the financial crisis in 2007 and 2008, and then we have other sides of that. And I would be remiss if I didn't point out, look what's happening to GM, look what's happening to Ford, look what's even happening to Chrysler. There's not anybody in their right mind that followed Chrysler, if you will, that thought they had a prayer. Well, Fiat came in. They ended up buying it. They got a lot of money from the government, and I might add, the money that Fiat got from the U.S. government for Chrysler, people think that was a give me. It wasn't. You know, some of the interest rate on that money that Fiat borrowed from the government in order to turn around and invest in Chrysler was 17 and 19%. Well, guess what? Sergio Marchionne, the CEO of Fiat, of Chrysler, man, they've done a phenomenal job of turning this thing around, right? So that's leadership. That's what we're talking about is leadership, okay? So we got to make sure that, from the bad leadership decisions, if we don't have it, it's going to dig a hole for us, right? So once again, poor leadership skills and a leader that has not developed good leadership skills can't solve a problem. You cannot solve a problem. You are only dealing with a symptom if you have poor leadership skills. Now, there is billions of dollars spent annually, well, I should say daily, because we're only dealing with the symptom of the problem because we are not leading the way we should be leading. Now, let's take a look at some other things that's going to derail you, and especially for the people that's watching the show today. And I know we have a lot of our clients that watch the show during this hour. And I'm speaking to you, and I'm speaking to the other viewers both locally and internationally as well. When you have poorly developed leadership skills, these bullets, it's not a maybe, it is a fact. It is a fact. Team members may not understand what is expected of them. I see this occur every day. If you do not know what's expected of you, well, how can you hold them accountable, right? Team members may not understand team goals or mandates. This is the big deal as well. So if you don't understand where all the money is going to be spent within your city, shame on you. Go to the city council, go to the planning commission meetings and find out exactly how you propose to spend it. Look at the budget. Pull the budget apart by line item and ask questions about it. Why do we need this? Or some other innovative ways in order to bridge that revenue gap, right? Now, plans are not developed in collaboration with the team members. Well, I just said it. You are the team member. If you're a citizen of, say, Carmel, Pacific Grove, Monterey, Seaside, Sand City, Salinas, and Hollister, Santa Cruz, throughout the Central Coast, you're the team member. You're the citizen. So those plans need to be made in collaboration and open with full transparency with you so you know what's going on, right? They work for you. You don't work for them, right? So let's take a look a bit forward. Now, when you have poorly developed leadership skills, communication is not effective. Just not. Just not. Team members are unable to work together effectively to achieve the goals, right? Does that ring a bell? Sure it does. Now, good leadership skills, I'm going to speed up here a little bit. Good leadership skills is both what you do and how you do it. Now, I want you to underline as you download this material from the website and you sit with it a little bit, and I want you to really, really think about this. Good leadership is both what you do and how you do it. As you work with others in your leadership role, you'll find that they face decisions and challenges and problems as often as you do. But it's how they deal with those that makes a difference. That's what separates you as a manager, becoming a leader, both in the private and the public sector as well. So it is a big deal. It is critical for a leader to create an open environment, and that's commonly referred to today as transparency. Well, we got to really get back to transparency and discovery and innovation. You know, I suggested maybe we got some thought leaders and some different strategies at the think tanks to be thinking about how can we, for example, bring the Apple build a plant here in the United States and bring those 300,000 jobs back to the U.S., right? And maybe we can do it right here on the Monterey Peninsula. That's another show. You get me started on the Fort Ord. Fort Ord was closed down, 1994? And we still have property that's prime for development that's just sitting there costing money. Why? Because we cannot agree. We cannot agree to agree. Boy, I am digging a hole for the show today, right? But that's okay. We cannot agree. And there's beautiful opportunities that lies here that can create jobs on the Monterey Peninsula, right? So good leadership is both what you do and how you do it, right? Now, the words I chose to use here in wrapping up the show today. A true leader communicates a vision and a belief in its value. So think about those people asking for your vote. Think about it. Do they pass the test? Inspires others to peak performance. Ask the question, are they passing the test? Sets appropriate examples for others to follow. Look at that. And instills a sense of order, direction, and focus. Those 4 bullets are huge. So, it's important enough. Let's do a quick review of those again. Communicates a vision and a belief in its value, a true leader. Inspires others to peak performance. Sets appropriate examples for others to follow. And instills a sense of order and direction and focus, right? So, and we got 2 more bullets. Responds to, and I'm gonna change that word, to difficulty or challenges without faltering, without falling apart, or becoming a victim, or explaining someone else. A true leader is going to be a person to say, if I blew it, and believe me, I have blown it many times, but unless you belly up to the bar, so to speak, and say, I blow it, and take responsibility for those decisions, you're not going to develop the trust that's necessary for you to become the leader that you need to be in these challenging times. So, clearly communicates the what, the why, and the when behind every how. Now, if you take nothing from the show today other than this, take this one. Put it on a 3.5 by 5 card, go to your next city council meeting, and when they start going through the consent agendas, and I know all city councils around the state is going to not be too happy with me when I'm suggesting, ask questions. Understand where the money's being spent and why we need to spend it, right? But at the same time, as a team or as a citizen, in a respectful way. And realize that you're not micromanaging, but what you're doing, you're electing leaders to represent you and your community and your enterprise, right? That's what you're doing. And that's what we need. And that's what makes it all go around. That's what made America as great as it is. And that's what we can continue to do in weeks to come, leading up to November. Man, I think this is one of the most important elections, national elections, that I've ever seen in 40 years. It is critical that we make the right choices and we get the right leaders and we start holding people accountable to each and every goal. And we are on the phone. We're talking to our local politicians. We're talking to our congressmen and Congress people, and we're talking to our senators, and let them know that we are part of the solution. We, the team, the American citizens, if you will, right? So, what I wanted to do today, and I hope we've accomplished our mission, is to bring out and just put a whole bunch of issues on the table, and to know that this leadership skills stuff cannot be left to chance. It's not something to fake. It's not something to take lightly. It's something that that we must develop, and you must aspire, leader, to create that personal development, and you're always growing. And please, the people that are in leadership positions, let it not be about your ego. It's not about you. It's about the people that you represent and the people that you're asking them to trust you in making decisions in the best of your ability. So, next week we'll be back with another show. I'd love to get you feedback on today's show, which I'm sure that's not going to be an issue, especially from some of our local politicians. But what we want to do at Circle of Success Show with Dr. Jim White on KYMB Comcast 19 is to continue to build a platform on the Monterey Peninsula so we can educate and inspire, and at the same time continue to reach our international audience of opportunities in teaching and mentoring and coaching. And we're going to continue to bring inspiring guests and experts from all walks of life on the shows, and we'd love to hear from you. Any suggestions that you have, open to them. And we want to start a series as well for local businesses in the Monterey Peninsula and in Central California. What I would like to do is to bring some business owners and leaders to the studio on the show and actually do what I call some hot seats to be able to put some real issues out on the table, and we give you some tools how to solve those. So if you're interested in that, let us know as well. So until next week, thank you very much. You've been watching KYMB, Comcast Channel 19.
This has been Jim White's Circle of Success Show. Please visit our website, jlwcos.tv. Join us next time as Jim White brings it all together on Jim White's Circle of Success.